In August of 2019, Mark Zuckerberg's office reached out to me and asked if they could arrange a talk between me and Mark, a video call. And this was a time when Zuckerberg was like traveling around the US and talking to all kinds of people. So I was very pleased. I was flattered by that. And, I think he knew I was a critic of social media's role. Back then, it was social media and democracy. In 2019, I was just beginning to get the evidence on mental health. I wasn't as confident at first. So I said, okay, great, let's talk. And so we had a Zoom, or whatever their platform was, for 30 or 40 minutes, I think. And we talked about what it's doing to democracy, and we had a bit of a debate. It was friendly. He knows a lot of the academic research, and then I raised the topic of kids, of teen mental health, because I'd written The Coddling the American Mind. We speculated there that the timing is right, but we don't have evidence. But by August of 2019, I was collecting the evidence with Jean Twenge that actually it's not just correlations. There are experiments. There's testimony. There's all sorts of things. This is looking like this is hurting a lot of kids. So I told him about that. And again, we had a kind of a friendly debate. There are a couple of academic articles that he often cites. Andrew Shabilsky is a researcher here at Oxford. So he cited work by Shabilsky. I cited other work, and we sort of went around like that. It was very friendly, and we had a follow-up email correspondence. And then I was invited to his house for dinner because his wife had read the Coddling American Mind and had liked it. And so I was very pleased his office invited me to their house for dinner. It was a really nice dinner, and they were friendly. But we sort of continued, like Mark and I continued the same sort of thing. It was like, an engaged disagreement between knowledgeable people. So that was all great. That was all very interesting. But I did tell him, I said, look, there is emerging evidence. There is growing evidence, certainly of the correlation. There's a lot of evidence that girls who are heavy users of social media, and especially Instagram. There are a few studies that show it's especially Instagram, that girls are particularly at risk for increased depression, anxiety, self-harm, eating disorders, things like that. So the academics are debating it, but I laid out what I thought was the evidence at the time.
Did he seem like a good person to you? Because you talk in the book about the need for a sort of moral framework and so on, and lots of these companies overtly haven't really been built with that in mind.
Yeah.
How did he come across to you as an individual?
Well, so I'm not going to comment based on my two interactions because there wasn't much to go on there.
Sure.
Like it really was like, both of us I think are very much like, high systemizers, heads in the data. So I mean that was enjoyable. But where I would be critical is based on so many things I've read. Based on there's like Talking Back to Facebook long ago. There's a book, The Ugly Truth. There's what the whistleblowers brought out, and now the new book, Careless People. All of these paint a similar portrait, which seems to be of a man who is so focused on the success of his company. I do not think he's motivated by money. I don't ever get that sense. But I think he's a very competitive man who loves his company. It's his baby. He has, the corporate structure or the stock owning structure is unusual in that he has almost complete control over what happens. So I think he's very focused on the victory or the success of his company and its subsidiaries. And based on what the whistleblowers say and what the books say, it seems as though whenever people have brought him evidence of harm and told him, here's how we could fix it, if there would be a cost to engagement, he says no. And I don't know that it's always him. They talk about bringing up to leadership, so there may be, I don't know what role others played. But that is what I mostly fault him for, that he's known for a long time that at least there is evidence, even if he's not sure it's conclusive, there is evidence that it is harming children, I've been saying, at an industrial scale. We're not talking about a few victims. We're talking about possibly millions and millions. And easy fixes have been proposed, and he hasn't done them. So I think he is morally responsible for that.
What are those easy fixes that have been proposed?
So the clearest one, so there are two main whistleblowers. There's Frances Haugen, who had all kinds of suggestions. Now, hers were more about democracy, toning down the super virality, things like limit the number of invitations one can send out to groups, but limit it so that you're in what would be like the bottom 98%, because most of the garbage is sent out by the 1% that are sending out, thousands and thousands. So she had all kinds of design change, and this is very important. Most of us who are in this world of trying to get reform on social media, we're not focused on content moderation. We are not saying, oh, they should clamp down on this or that. We're focused on design. As Marshall McLuhan said, the medium is the message. Don't focus on the content, focus on the design. So Frances Haugen brought out all kinds of design changes that could have made it much less toxic to democracy. And they did one of them in I think 2016. They did one where there's something they can turn down or up, essentially, as though it was a lever. I can't remember whether it has to do with the virality or whatever, but it means that either more extreme content gets more grip or less grip. So they can control it, but they don't. So she had a lot of ideas, especially on democracy. She also brought out a lot of stuff about their own studies about how it's harming girls' mental health. But the specific one where they could act on it, they could solve a problem very quickly, is making it easy to report especially for minors, making it easy to report behavior that does not reach the threshold of harassment but is creepy. And so especially Instagram and Snapchat are the main ways that men around the world reach children. Sextortion begins usually on those two platforms. It's insane that any 9-year-old can lie about her age and suddenly be talking to a 40-year-old sex criminal around the world. They could easily put a stop to that, not with content moderation, but by giving everyone an easy button to say something about this feels off. That wouldn't be a reason to kick the person off the platform. But if there are 1,000 of those reports, boom, they're gone. So they could do things like that. And Arturo Bejar, his point was they weren't. And so he actually put it all in a message that he sent by email to all the leadership, as I understand it, so that they couldn't deny that they got it. So they all got this message. And I believe to date, they still have not done what he called for back in 2017, 18, something like that.